guys, today I have a wonderful guest. This is Sarah Wynen, the writer of You're a Catch, the musical, which is the musical that we will be performing for Broadway Bound Live, the finale. And I'm really excited to be able to talk to Sarah. Sarah, it's wonderful to talk to you today. Um,
Hi, good to talk to you as well.
how did you hear about like Broadway Bound Live and their interest in using your script, You're a Catch?
As a theatre writer and especially a music theatre writer, it's quite a niche thing, especially where I'm from in Australia. Music theatre isn't such a thing. It's quite a niche thing. So I've always really tried to connect with other music theatre writers around the world. And a great way that I've found to do that is through things like Facebook groups and communities that actually connect people through further distances than finding local stuff. So as part of those communities, Candace reached out looking for an original script that had a certain number of cast members that you needed. And I was like, you know what? My show has that number of cast members. I'll apply. And I think it works well because there is a lot of solo material. So it is a good show if you're wanting to showcase the talents of different people. So it will be really, really interesting to see what you guys do with it.
When you directed it yourself and had a performance in Australia, has it gone through two different separate performances, or is it just the one in 2022?
So we had one that was scheduled that got cancelled because of COVID. So that was
Mm.
pretty rough. And that was rescheduled for its debut season. And then we had a second run as well. So you're right, two iterations. And it developed quite a lot between the first and the second. And so they were quite different. We had a much bigger stage, more set, a bigger production value, I would say. But the show worked just as well that first time when it was this dingy little theatre, no set, pretty much. The stage was so small, we could barely do any dance moves. Like it was really quite restrictive, but I think the show lends itself to be quite versatile and to be directed in different ways. I feel like you can do the whole Broadway vibe, or you can do a smaller scale, more intimate version. I can't wait to see it put on with somebody else's vision mixed in there, because obviously both times I put it on previously, I was quite involved in that process, getting it up off its feet. So to see somebody else's input and artistic flair will be really exciting.
So do you have any expectations for the play this time around, now that it's being performed by the cast of Broadway Bound Live in America?
I don't have any expectations. I'm not used to hearing American accents in my work because when I write in Australia, I'm quite adamant about people using their natural and authentic accents and voices. So I'm really interested to hear that element of it. But apart from that, I have no expectations. And like I said, I think it's quite a blank canvas of a show that you can really do a lot of different things with. So I'm excited for my expectations to be broken, shattered, exceeded. It's going to be great. You guys are going to do amazing.
Yay. Yeah, I'm so thrilled for it. I can't wait for opening night. So let's go into a little bit of your history. You know, what inspired you to write a musical about online dating?
Well, when I started the musical, I was single. And by the time it had got its second production on, I was engaged. So, I write from my own personal experience because I feel like I'm quite qualified to write about that. For example, if I was going to write about Roman history, I would need to research that topic super heavily. And I'm pretty lazy and I don't like researching. So if you write about things that are your lived experience, you are literally the expert and the best person to tell that story and to write from your experience. When I was single, I had a lot of adventures. I was dating, I was out there, I was doing all of the things that happen in the show. And I met a lot of people on that journey, and I met a lot of strangers. I met a lot of people from Tinder. I met a lot of people I never thought that I would get to meet. And I was just blown away by the fact that everyone has a story, and like everybody has a reason that they're on Tinder, or that they're looking for love, or they're okay not looking for love, or something that's holding them back, or something that ignites them to put themselves out there. Everybody has some weird, kooky little story. And so the idea was sort of born out of that everybody's got a reason why they're in this group of people we call single, and they're all different reasons flavored with good things, bad things, you know, wacky things, crazy stories, funny stories. And I wanted to sort of showcase the variety of people out there in this situation and tell some of those stories. So a fair few of the songs are based on true stories, either from myself or from people that I interviewed before the show. And so that was a really exciting element as well, to be able to bring real life into it and then see how far we can take it. For example, the song I Hid in a Cupboard, I was in the situation where the people were having the fun times outside. And obviously, it didn't escalate to the point where I weed my pants, but it makes a great song. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm writing, all you need is a tiny seed of truth. And I think the skill of a writer is to be able to turn a seed of truth into something entertaining.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I like that little bit of detail, especially since I'm one of the characters who's going to be in that scene for this one, and
it's a fun scene.
it's a fun scene. So I'm looking forward to that one for sure. Now that you have, you're in the UK now, and you're working on things there. I did see that you do a lot of things like street performances and stuff like that. But essentially, what advice do you have for a comedy performer or something along those lines?
My advice for any performer would be, firstly, make sure that you really love performing. And I believe that the only people who do perform are people that love it, because there's no other reason to do it. It doesn't pay great. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really hard work. It's excruciating. You've got to keep up your training. You've got to constantly be searching for work. I mean, being any kind of performer is so hard. If you don't love it, like, there's no other reason to be doing it. So I would say make sure you love it. And for people who are interested in comedy in particular, I would say that find your niche. Like, I think it's really easy to be broad and say comedy, drama, comedy, drama. But as you say, like, there are so many different areas where people find their spot. And there's some people that I know who are the funniest stand-up comedians that I have ever met in my life. And I would consider myself a funny person, and I could do stand-up, but not like these people. They've found their niche. Whereas when I do magic shows for kids or street performance or that kind of thing, like, I'm in my prime and I can hold people in the palm of my hand in a way that I couldn't if I was doing sketch comedy or physical comedy or even stuff more geared towards film and TV or podcast comedy. I mean, like, there are so many different little spots to find your strength within a broader genre. And I think that goes the same for writing. Like, I think it's very easy to say, oh, I'm a writer, but, some people are going to be great at writing musicals, and some people are going to be great at writing articles, and some people are going to be really skilled in, you know what I mean? Like, find your spot and figure out what you can do really well, what complements your unique combination of skills.
I'm playing the character of Nathan in this version. So it's very much so, the YouTuber, social media influencer style guy, while also implementing his kind of bad side of, like, not good with girls. He doesn't get it, even though he's he's got a YouTube channel about dating advice. Like, he's not the qualified person to do it. He's worse advice. What insights can you give me about that character, and how you came across, like, writing it?
That's a great question. And I think that this show does have a lot of social commentary and tries to make a lot of points. And I think this monologue is a good example of that, where I think the point of the monologue is, like, sexism exists and men who think women are nothing and treat them like absolute crap exist. And it's about, how do you make that point by sort of saying the complete opposite. I think if you stand up on a soapbox to your audience and say, these are my opinions and you should listen to them, and I believe in this and the world needs to change in this way, everyone's just switching off. Do you know what I mean? But if you can wrap up your point in a special little box that is really funny, engaging, has characters who we go, oh, they said that. Oh, do you know what I mean? Like keeps you on the edge of your seat a little bit. It's about saying what you want to say by saying the exact opposite. And another good example is Big Blind Date. You know, like the whole message of Big Blind Date for me is that the dating experience is so different for women compared to men. I mean, women are worried that they're going to get killed or raped, or you know what I mean? Like, I hope he's not an absolute, you know, whereas the men are like, oh, I hope that she's hot. I hope she likes sport and pro wrestling. Do you know what I mean? And so it's quite a big issue that I feel quite strongly about. But again, if I was to just get up and like say, rah, 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 I mean, switching off. So it's about wrapping that up in something that has a different take, or has a bit of irony, or has a bit of cleverness to it, to actually get that message across a lot more successfully. So for Nathan, he's a dick. I hate him, but also I love him. I mean, like, what a great character. So much fun to play. But you as the actor probably couldn't say these things in your everyday life. Do you know what I mean? But you as the character can get away with saying an awful lot that's actually discussing a really important issue. So it's kind of complex. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm really having fun, like, understanding and learning how to create that character and dig into the message that it's really saying. Within your process of your career, everything that you're working on, what would you say is your proudest accomplishment in musical theater, in your musical theater career, and why?
At the moment, probably that you guys are performing my show. And the reason is that it's where you are right now feels very far away from where I am and where I've come from. And so the idea that my music has traveled continents and traveled the globe, and is going to be put on somewhere else, is really, really exciting to me, because I sort of set the expectation very low when you get into this. You think, if I can just put on a show with a few of my friends and we have a good time and we make a few people laugh, I'll be happy. I'll be set. I'll think, you know what, I've made it. But to actually be able to share that with more people, and when it starts to escape your inner circle and other people can share in that, it's really, really special. Getting through a show, to write a show, is a really long process. So for me to have written multiple shows and actually gotten through that and gotten a finished product, I think I'm pretty proud of that. And I think it takes a lot of persistence to take an idea from concept to not only a script, but to music that then gets arranged, that then gets engraved and formatted, and backing tracks made and demo tracks made. And, you know, even just to put together the resources that you need as a bare minimum is such a long journey and arduous process. So to get, anytime I get a project to a finished final product, that is a really satisfying moment.
What are you currently working on, and what's the next big step in your career?
So at the moment, I'm actually about to go on a national UK tour of acting. So that's really exciting, because I've never really performed in the UK and I've never done any touring. So I'm really, really excited to just do some performance for a while. I feel like once I graduated drama school and went out into the big, wide, scary world, sort of COVID hit for a good 3 years, you know, and like that was pretty tough. And I didn't really do a lot of acting. And whilst I think writing is really what I love to do, I also really love to perform. And so I'm really excited this year to just give it a red hot go. And probably the red hot go I wasn't able to give it over the past 3 years because of COVID. But in terms of writing, it's always on in the background, and it's always sort of searching for stories and searching for the next thing that you love, and that you think, you know what, I can really do this. Because once you decide to write a show, as I said, it is such a long process. You can only get to the other side if you really believe in the story and you really feel like you've got to write it. But after You're a Catch, which was very much like real life relationshipy stuff, I feel like I would like to do something completely different and something a bit more fantastical or otherworldly. So at the moment, I'm just starting to formulate ideas for something new, and I would love to explore a totally different genre and different musical sounds.
Just going back to what you said about, writing about what you're experienced in, uh do you have any like experiences that you're pulling from to create that fantastical world that you're talking about?
Well, I think that a good balance point is something called magic realism, where it's you taking sort of real life stuff and just adding a little dash of magic. So something along those lines where I can still bring into it all of that stuff from, what I experience as a human being, because I think at the end of the day, people consume media because they can connect to it as a human being. So, like, even in The Lord of the Rings, which is like, absolutely fantastical and not like real life at all. We're not drawn to it necessarily because of the fantastical element, even though, yes, it's awesome. It's because we understand the struggle of temptation and we resonate with Frodo and we get so inspired by Aragorn when do you know what I mean? And we connect to these characters as human beings. So, any sort of setting or any sort of fantastical magical elements, I think, are a great scenario and a great reason to actually just discuss other human elements. And really, to me, it is about those human elements that make theatre great. So it is a fine balance. But yeah, I'm intrigued how I'm going to be able to bring some sense of magic to the everyday.